April 15th to the 17th is the IS20G conference, which is the Millionaire Car Salesman Conference, the Dealer Synergy Conference, the Internet Sales 20 Conference. We're going to be in Baltimore. Be more in Baltimore, April 15th to the 17th. So we're going to start having information probably at the end of this month, beginning of next month. We're going to have the website up. It's still got last year's event, but again, our venue's locked in. We're at the beautiful historic Lord Hotel in downtown Baltimore. We're going to have the biggest, most powerful conference we've ever had. This is our 16th year. Can you imagine doing a conference for 16 years? You can't do anything. It's like the McRib. It's coming back better than before. You know what I'm saying, people?
If you want to get more information on IS20G, just text me the letters IS20G. I know it's letters and numbers.
Or if you want to speak,
yeah, send it to 267-551-6279. Again, 267-551-6279. I know we also have some companies that sometimes want to sponsor the event. You can also send me those letters and just put the word sponsor, and it'll let me know that that's something that you'd like to do, and we'll be in contact with you. All right.
Let me ask you a question. Did you come here to listen to money or make it? This is L.A. Williams, the blind master, and Sean V. Bradley and I came here for one reason and one reason only. That's to fill your pockets with money. Now how are we gonna do it? By giving you the secrets, techniques, and strategies for you to stop losing and start winning at this game called Automotive Professional Sales. Actually, I lied. This is not Sean V. Bradley and L.A. Williams. It's L.A. Williams and the one and only Tianna Mick Bradley. We are here on the Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast. What's going on, T?
Hey, LA. I want to say hey to all the listeners because it's been a while since I've been on the podcast, guys, and I'm so happy to be back.
Absolutely. So what are we talking about today? First of all, last week we had a conversation. Y'all hadn't heard me talking with Sean about AI, right? The buzzword of the industry. That's what everybody's been talking about at NAMAD, at Digital Dealer, everything, right? And then I had a conversation with Jared Kilway representing Connect AI, all about AI, right? So it's just we getting all this AI stuff. And I was talking to T, and she like, hold on, LA, I want to weigh in. Shoot, you know what I'm saying? I'm the new generation. You need to hear from me when it comes to AI. And I'm like, you know what? You're absolutely right? So we definitely want to have that conversation, but I also want to make sure that folks understand that it's not just all about AI, right? They just understand that it's almost just like I made this comparison last week when I talked about computers, right? Just because computers came into play does not mean we stop using pen and paper. Is that right, T?
That is absolutely right, LA. And you touched base exactly on what I want to talk about. Like, I love AI. I want to talk about AI, but a huge part of the topic that we also want to kind of talk about is going back to I say the old school, right? 3 years ago, but the old school way of selling and how we can kind of get back into the normalcy of things. Because LA, if we want things and our customers and the market to go back to normal, why are we not going back to the old school selling ways, the quote unquote normal way? Not, like you said, ignoring the technology, but also going back to the old school.
Absolutely, 100%. And here's the crazy thing. That's where selling is headed, right? So just so you all know, I don't know if y'all was around in 2020, there was this COVID-19 thing, right? And so there's been challenges with inventory. There's been challenges with all kind of stuff, right? And so if you only been selling cars for the last, 3, maybe even 4 years, you really don't know what it's like to sell a car. And that's no slight to you. It's just that you haven't been around during the quote unquote normal times. And I'm not going to say it's going back to times like that, but there are some things that are going to kind of flatline, like the game is going to shift. And so it's going to be very important that you have these basic, normal, I don't even know what word, because I'm not giving it justice by calling it basic and normal. I'm just saying that it's fundamental. There you go. That's the good word, right, T? Fundamental.
Yeah, back to the basics, right? I heard a colleague of mine say that, and I'm like, yes, we need to get back to the basics. And exactly like you said, LA, not, saying selling nowadays, you don't comprehend what it was like before, but imagine the technology that you have now and the access to everything that you have now versus all of the access that your managers, didn't have. And they really had to maximize on all of those quote unquote fundamental basic ways and how we kind of ignored those.
Absolutely. All right, cool. So let's kind of jump right into it. I think one of the biggest topics, right, is this whole prospecting thing, right? How do I get in front of new people? I've been to the dealership, maybe 90 days. I want to become a millionaire car salesman. We see this type of conversation happening in the Millionaire Car Salesman group all the time, right? And so we're like, hey man, hop on social media, do your whole Facebook marketplace thing. I mean, I'm sure you've got some suggestions, right, that people take advantage of that's new school, but then you got some quote unquote old school stuff. So could you just break down some stuff? What can folks do to prospect and get in front of more people and get their business in front of more people?
Yeah, so touching base on like the basics, right, or the fundamental ways of selling, really going back into being involved in your community. And I really want to touch base on this, LA, because a lot of listeners are probably going to say, I've heard this, right? I've already heard be involved in my community, go to my events, show up. But how many of you do? How many of you are actually, showing up to the events? We always say, hey, it's good to, drink at least, X amount and, a glass of water in the morning and at night. And we know those are good things to do, right?
Yep.
How many of us do that?
Yeah.
So going back to the basics of everything, especially when giving out these ideas, we really want you guys to understand that the consistency of being involved in your community is really going to fuel the fire, right? So my first step to you guys and tip to you guys would be really going to those community events, like actually going to Google, right? I used to sell cars in Reading, right? So I would go to Reading and I would look up Reading 2023 social community calendar. And I would pick out all of these different events that I would go to, right? And picking them out is the first step, right? But then going to the events. So how many of you guys are actually going to your community events, going to your farmers markets, going to your local, Wednesday coffee shop, community events, things like that? So my first tip for you guys would be to actually show up and go, right? Showing up is half the battle, LA.
Absolutely, 100%. So, that's funny. Sean does that all the time. Like,
LA.
When y'all get done speaking, I'm
pun intended.
Right? I'm always poised. You know what I'm saying? It's part of being a professional. You know what I'm saying? So, I'm trying to teach him not to do it. So I'm going to coach you live on the podcast. You don't got to team me up. I'm always ready. So no, but
always ready. Be ready always.
100%. No, but you're absolutely killing it, right? Because here's the thing: so many people, they say, "Oh, do the community event," and then they come up with excuses and go, "Oh, but I'm at the dealership all the time." Okay, but you do have what's classified as a day off, right? Now listen, it's going to be up to you whether you want to, put some extra effort in, right, on your quote unquote day off, or you talking about you just want to spend time with family. We're not saying it's something you got to do all day, right? We're just saying that you should be making an appearance because that's what business owners do, right? They put themselves in positions where you take hours off, not a whole entire day, unless it's planned, right? So it was so crazy because T and I were at her brother Xander's basketball practice thing. We were just having conversations and we're like, yo, it's so crazy how people, they're like, oh, I'm off. Like, what do you mean you're off, right? Like, I bet you would not be upset if on your day off you got a check, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
You would say, oh, I'm sending that back.
Your
right?
bank account.
Yeah. You was off today. Your bank account was off today. So we just sent the deposit back. You know what I'm saying? Like, nobody would say that, right? So you got to make sure that you take some time and schedule it. And here's the other half of it. You do have some managers who are like, listen, if you're going to do something that's going to be helpful for the dealership, you may not necessarily need to be on the floor with coverage and all that different kind of stuff. Again, as long as you're doing it responsibly. Talk a little bit about that, T, because that's people's number one pushback is, I'm busy, I'm always on the floor, or my day is off. What would you say to that?
Oh yeah, no. To that, I always say we always make time for what's important to us, right?
Ooh.
There's no finding extra time. You can't look under your desk and there's an extra 10 minutes there for you to maybe research some things, or, right? We have to make the time that's really important to us. So going back to, for an example, if there's a community event on a Sunday, which a majority of car dealers are off on Sundays, right? So if you're off on Sunday and you see that there is a farmer's market open from, let's say, 10 to 12, 9 to 12, you're taking a couple hours of your off day to just, connect, network, and be involved with your community and take videos. Now that's your off day, right? Talking to your managers during your work day, literally telling them that you're there to connect, network, and not kind of utilize their marketing and ad spend to kind of take ups at the customers that are already there, right? You have to tell your managers, like, hey, if I'm standing here and I'm taking ups, right? You basically paid for these customers already to walk into the store. Or you could have me go to this event for maybe 2-3 hours, maybe even an hour, and I could have potentially connecting with people that we've not marketed to, not spent advertising dollars to, and be able to connect and make new leads. So being able to sell your managers on it, I think, would be the best step, LA.
New leads. That's what I'm talking about. Everybody
Yes.
say they want new leads, you know what I'm saying? I really like that. Now, let's talk about this, though, because I think sometimes, Google is definitely a resource, right? However, how many people have heard of the Meetup app? Right, there's literally an app called Meetup, and it has in there all types of groups and types of people and things like that. And so, whatever you're particularly interested in, you can go and get around your tribe. Because I promise you, your tribe, even L.A. Williams' tribe, right? Let's say it was all blind people that did music and with finance and all that kind of stuff, right? Those folks still need to ride, right? They may not be driving, but they still need to ride. So you can't tell me that your community of people, right? The people who do your tribe, your colleagues, the type of people who you can't tell me that they're not going to need to drive something. You can't tell me that people and their friends and family aren't going to need to drive something, right? And so it goes back to the most old school thought process when it comes to selling cars, is that everyone who knows someone who knows you should know that you sell cars. Let me say it again, right?
Oh my God, LA, I love that. Say it again.
Everyone who knows someone who knows you should know that you sell cars.
Right. Oh my gosh. LA, you just teed me up perfectly to my main point of being involved in your community, right? Is mindset. Business owners and entrepreneurs are always looking for avenues to make money, regardless of if you're at the bank, if you're at the club, if you're at dinner. You're always looking for avenues to generate income. And like you said, LA, what is that income that these salespeople, managers, dealers can make? Connecting with potential leads, potential prospects. So that's why in my trainings and all of everything that I tell people is the number one thing that you can kind of take away is instilling that mindset to yourself. Because once you're able to tell people, not sell people, right? Tell people what you do, and as a car dealer, right? As a car dealership and a car salesman, and what you can do for them, you're not selling them anymore. So when I'm at the club or I'm getting a drink, or if I'm at the gym, I'm just telling everybody what I do. And I think salespeople don't do enough of that. And that goes back to the basics, right? Everybody should know what you do and that you sell cars. So everywhere you're at, everywhere you go, you should be telling people, hey, I work here, 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 right? Not in a salesy way, but in a telling way. So tell them, don't sell them. And think of ways that where you are, whether that be like you said, LA, I'm sure at those basketball games, at those football games, there's parents that drove up in a car and they know people that drive cars, right? Hey, how about when you're in the club, right? Everybody got there, maybe, hopefully they Ubered or are going to Uber back after, but they probably got there in a car, or they know somebody that has a car or needs to sell a car, trade in their car.
Designated driver, you know what I'm saying? Everybody got one of those. So yeah, no, you're absolutely killing it. You're killing it. Now here's the other aspect of it is, I like what you just talked about. You're like, man, sometimes you just gotta have a conversation with a person. You ain't always trying to sell them on something, right? And here's the secret to the game. One of the easiest conversations to have is, let me ask you, what do you do, Tianna? What do you do for a living, right? And then when you ask that question, people will reciprocally ask you, oh, so what do you do? And now you get the opportunity to tell them what you do, right? It kind of goes back to Malik and his t-shirts, right? Ask me what I do. Hey, Hey, just ask me what I do. Y'all hear that song later. But yeah, throw on the shirt, you know what I'm saying? Holla at the young Jedi, right? And he's got it laid out. Make it real simple and have people ask you what you do. Find a way to get them to ask you what you do. So I thought that was fire. So good.
Yes,
So
LA.
you got
One
more?
of the things, just really quick on the t-shirt topic, right?
Mm-hmm.
All the time, just because I was just recently at the Automotive State of the Union convention over in Maryland.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was on the panel, I literally brought this up and I said, like entrepreneurs, like business people, right? You wear your suit everywhere, kind of like the military, right? You
Mm-hmm.
always see, our men and women. Thank you for your service, guys. If you guys are listening, girls are listening, thank you so much. But always wearing their military uniform, right? It's like the psychology of saying, hey, this is what I do.
Right.
Similar thing. Wherever I go, when I sold cars, I would not change. If I'm going to the movies, I'm wearing my dealership shirt. I'm going to
Nice.
the club, I'm wearing my dealership shirt. I'm going to the bar, I'm wearing my dealership shirt. Gym, dealership shirt. We're walking billboards, guys. If you are literally a walking billboard, why would you not have a Malik Bronner exclusive Ask Me What I Do shirt? Why would you not have your dealership shirt that's literally repping what you do? So that way, when you ask them, hey, what do you do? I'm pretty sure they're going to take a glance down, see that embroidery on the, top right on left hand shoulder on your shoulder there, and they're going to say, oh, okay, so what do you do? And they're probably going to be already connecting the two.
Yeah, I love that. 100%. And it's so crazy because people don't think of it, even though Jay-Z put it in a song. You know what I'm saying? Maybe this is the young crowd. Y'all don't know. Jay-Z said, I'm not a businessman. I'm a business man. Right? It's such a
Right.
profound statement. It's so, like, it's so old school, but it's like, it's so profound. And as soon as people figure that out, man, I'm telling you, that's when their careers go to the next level. So, all right, so that's phenomenal. That's when it comes to talking about prospecting and things like that. What are some other things that, you hear, Tianna, all the time? People, the new school way to do this, the new school way to do this. Like whether, let's say it's communicating with customers. Like we talk about texting your customers, emailing your customers, and, shooting videos for your customers. That might be the new school way, the social media and all that different kind of stuff. But what's some of the quote unquote old school, tried and true methods of communicating with customers that, sometimes we're getting away from it, which actually makes, when we do it, it makes you actually stand out? What are some of those things?
Oh my gosh. Well, the number one thing is that you guys probably heard this, but have probably gotten away from it, is going back to handwriting letters. Even if you took a Sunday out, right, and you were handwriting 50 letters and you drop them off into, an apartment complex mailboxes, because that's my number one thing is like, and my idea is, how can I maximize my time and efforts in one place, right? I don't want to go door to door, and which you can do. That's another, old school, fundamental way. Just go door to door, putting letters under people's doors. But I think, how can I maximize my time?
Mm-hmm.
So I seek out apartment buildings. I seek out big businesses that I can go in and just put in my flyer, put in my cards, put in my handwritten note. So that way I can maximize my time. So I would actually handwrite, like I said, 50 to 100 notes. It doesn't have to be anything too long, right? It's just, hey, I sell cars here. I want to help you out. Here is, $100 off your next purchase, oil change, some value package in there, right? Which we can obviously probably talk about in another podcast, how to entice customers, right, when you're talking to them.
Mm-hmm.
But once you get those handwritten letters, because nobody does that anymore, they even print out things that look like it's handwriting, like the font is handwritten, but
Mm-hmm.
it's not. It's like you're trying to be, touching on the emotional bank account, depositing the emotional bank account, but completely missing it.
Mm.
So I would say write handwritten letters and start dropping them into apartment complexes, all of those different mailboxes.
Yeah,
Another
absolutely.
one that I have really quickly, which I honestly thought of when I was going to the grocery store, and it's kind of on the same sense of making your own flyers and things like that, is I was walking in the grocery store, and on the way out there, and on the way in, actually, there's two. There's this bulletin board, and the bulletin board, I remember when I was younger, it would be like cluttered with so many flyers, so many things. And then I got to thinking, I was like, now it's so empty. It's so bare.
Yeah.
There's nothing there anymore. And I got to thinking, that's because they're not posting flyers anymore. They're posting social media ads. They're buying this ad space. So they neglected now this one avenue of customers that are literally walking into this grocery store, hundreds of people every single day, every single night. And they're neglecting this free space to put their flyer. So I called up my cousin and I was like, hey, go to the grocery store, put up your flyer. And he even went and he was like, oh my God, you're right. There was like 2 things there and one was from like 3 years ago. So he did that and he already got some callbacks and it was absolutely awesome to immediately get that result.
Wow. For free. You know what I'm saying? For free.
Yeah,
just being able to tap into businesses in the area. Shout out to D-Rob. You know what I'm saying? That's my guy. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, you know, these are the kind of things, again, that most people aren't thinking about. They aren't having these conversations. But listen, here at the Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast, we're going to have those conversations. Speaking of conversations, right? Y'all heard at the beginning of the podcast, we talked about this, and I didn't even tee up Tianna on this, so she's just going to have to flow with me on this, right? What's happening in the month of April? In the month of April, we have the Internet Sales 20 Group Conference, number 15. And for folks who don't know, it literally is going to be the last one. We are closing out with a bang. It is Dealer Synergy's 20-year anniversary. And I'm telling you, it's going to be
20
slamming.
years, LA. I was like literally 4 years old 20 years ago.
So, man, I'm telling you, y'all got to make sure you're there. So, listen, for anyone who wants to, whether you want to attend, whether you want to speak, or whether you want to sponsor, right? Just send me a text. The number, all y'all should know my number, but in case we got a new listener, right? It's 267-551-6279. Again, 267-551-6279. Send me the letters and numbers IS20G, so IS20G, and then you can just type in attend or speak or sponsor, whatever, and I'll make sure that I'll reply to you, and we'll figure it out together what the best match is going to be. So so talk a little bit about that, T, because I know you've spoken at the Internet Sales 20 groups before. You've attended them.
Yeah.
You might have been in somebody's walker or something like that, but like you might have been in a stroller, right? But I'm joking. But you've been in the Internet Sales 20 groups. Give us your take on the Internet Sales 20 group and what you got out of it.
Yeah, I actually just hopped off of a conference, or I say a conference because we were talking about the conference, a call about the conference. And they were just like super pumped up, excited. And just to reiterate, it's an exclusive event, right? We don't do it like any other conference. I've, only 24 years old, but I've been blessed with being able to attend and speak at, I want to say, 20 plus conferences, not including the IS20G. And the IS20G is honestly an event like no other. The way that we set it up, there's, no congruent sessions, which means if you're an attendee, you're not going to miss any education.
Yeah.
That was my number one thing. I hated when I went to other conferences that I would have to pick and choose what I wanted to go to. I would be like, oh my gosh, I want to go to this marketing class at one, but there's a sales class at one, and I wish I could be at 2 places at once, and this isn't online, and right? But with the IS20G, we completely eliminate that. For the last 20 years, for our last 15 events, we have been having sessions back to back, and everybody can attend the session. So if you're an attendee and you're looking to get the most education, and kind of like in this podcast, we're talking about the new ways to sell, but also more of the fundamental and back to the basics ways to sell, IS20G is definitely the event that where you want to be, and send your team members. If you're a manager and you're listening, you should definitely send your team if you want to get the most out of them. It's not just an event for managers and high-level executives, which we highly encourage because it's going to be high-level talks, but we also encourage sales individuals to come because it's going to be an event like no other.
Absolutely. And in addition to that, listen, sponsors, like, here's the deal. The most annoying thing is like you go to these other events and it's like you're confined to the exhibit hall and it's like, oh, sponsors, you gotta say sponsor on
You're
your badge.
banished, LA. You're banished to the exhibit hall, I say.
You know what I'm saying? It's horrible, right? And so then it becomes us versus them and folks avoiding people. No, our conference promotes the togetherness, right? Because we're all in the room together, right? We're all a part of the same conversation. And so you actually get to add real value. If a speaker's on stage and you got an opinion, you got something that you can add to it, or, something you want to challenge, you just raise your hand and you have the conversation. And then what happens is now you're practicing attraction stuff, because the dealers who like what you have to say or who want to get more information on what you had to say, they'll begin to come to you. It's just a human interaction versus, like I said, us versus them. Oh, they got a yellow badge on, they got a green badge on, they got a blue. You know what I'm saying? You just don't feel quite right.
Yes.
So.
No, exactly. It's like everybody is immersed in one experience. And like you said, LA, going back to the education, even the vendors are getting the education, right? Everybody's in one room, all learning under, on one stage. So it's an exclusive event like no other, especially if you are also a sponsor and a vendor. We've been having a lot of repeat sponsors only because they've had so much success with being able to connect with our dealers and being able to really display how they're, whether that be a product or specific, philosophy, really helps dealers. And I think that's what really sets us apart here, at the Internet Sales 20 group and with Dealer Synergy, is we really find those main educators and things that are really going to help dealers. So if we do put a vendor or a sponsor on stage, we fully 100% believe they will help your dealership. So then if you're a dealer attendee, you need to be attending because you need to hear about who those speakers are and who we recommend for sure.
Absolutely, 100%. We got you'll notice some of the folks that's been on the podcast. We don't just put anybody on here. It's always going to be people that bring value to the dealership. It's going to be people that bring value to your ears. I always say ear sugar, man. Say stuff that's going to actually give somebody, help them put some daggone money in their pocket. So beautiful stuff. All right, so let's jump back into this thing because I know that we talked about AI, we talked about the value of it. And a lot of people, we talk a lot about ChatGPT, right? ChatGPT, and all of that good stuff. Now, T, I know you and I have dove, just all the way into allowing ChatGPT to assist us in doing a lot of the quote unquote grunt work that we need to do, right? And sometimes it's a little bit fun, right? Because you get to play around with it, and you get to make it do this and make it do that. So you probably get, I don't know if you got some more tips, fundamental tips. We can still talk about those, but I definitely want to get your feedback on ChatGPT because you're one of the more advanced users of it, and you might be able to break some stuff down to people who are frustrated. Even some people who we know real well, like real well, like y'all hear him on the podcast all the time. He like, I don't know, ChatGPT, it kind of frustrated because, you have to know how to operate the mug. It's just like computers, right? Back in the day. That stupid computer, I don't know how to do, all I know is what a power button is. You know how people say that stuff, right? So
oh my gosh, absolutely. Yes. Like any tool, right? It's only as good as you know how to use it, right?
Exactly.
If you're hitting the nail with the hammer backwards, it's not the hammer's fault. So going back to ChatGPT, I love ChatGPT. I get tongue tied when I say that too, LA.
Yep.
I love ChatGPT only because, like you said, the grunt work. Oh my gosh, in car sales, obviously, if you have your CRM set up properly with the proper automation, which Dealer Synergy and I can help you out with, let LA know. Yep. With that being said, customer replies and replying back to emails would take so much time out of my day, so much time. And ChatGPT literally makes an email for me in 30 seconds.
Wow.
And I don't even have to think twice about it. I literally, LA, I copy the email. I say, okay, say LA emailed me about a 2022 GMC Terrain, because that's what I drive, so it's on the top of my head. And he said, hey, I'm interested if you still have the GMC Terrain on the lot. I want this to be a fast process. I would sit there and be like, oh my gosh, what do I say to them? How do I start it off? Do I say hi? Do I say hey? Do I say hello? Do I say what's up? What's the vibe? Now I literally don't have to do that. I open up chatgpt.com and then it'll take you to the AI site.
OpenAI,
yeah. And I copy the email and I literally say, reply as Tianna Mick, car sales professional at ABC Motors, letting the customer know, along with our value package proposition, that we would like to schedule an appointment with him as soon as possible and entice him to want to watch this new video I just made for him. I put that in with I already copied his email. I paste that email after I gave ChatGPT those instructions, and it literally in 30 seconds, maybe less, gives me a complete email saying, "Hey, LA Williams, thank you so much for your choice to sign up to shop with us at ABC Motors. Look at this personalized video," and then it'll say insert video here. Obviously, you guys should be using video, and it'll make a complete template. And then I would just copy and paste that over. So in 30 seconds, I literally have an email reply that would probably, if I really wanted to replicate it, would probably take me a good 20, 30 minutes just to really get the verbiage right, the words right. You know us, we read emails, we overthink, we read it again, we have to have our manager look at it. The manager doesn't like it, we got to change it. ChatGPT eliminates all of that.
Yeah.
And so answering emails is my number one go-to, especially with ChatGPT.
So let's talk about that, because I think a lot of people don't really realize or understand the keys of what happened there. So let me tell you, there's obviously two versions of ChatGPT. There's the free version, right? And there's the paid version. The paid version is only like $20 a month, right? If you're serious about your career and you really start to get good at this, it might make sense for you to make that investment, but I don't benefit at all. So it is what it is. I'm just telling you, right? So the difference is, you know, as the paid version, you can actually tell it who you are ahead of time. So you don't have to keep saying, you know, Tianna Mick, automotive sales professional, such. You don't have to keep telling it who you are. There's personalized profiles. So if I have the paid version of ChatGPT, it knows who I am. So I just say, you know, respond to this email as me. Respond to this email as my manager. Respond to this email as
LA.
the owner.
So you're saying that if a dealership purchased, they could set up personalized personalities for each of their salespeople.
Sure could. Absolutely, right? Respond to this email as the car. Respond to this email as the owner. Respond to this email as the building, right? So you could have a lot of fun with it if you really, really wanted to, right? ChatGPT can pretend to be everything, right? It can be an inanimate object, it can be a person, it can be, you know, all kind of cool stuff, right? The other aspect of is some of the words that you said. You said, hey, entice the user, right? Entice the customer. So ChatGPT, being as though it's a wordsmith, right? It understands, oh, she wants this to be enticing, right? You could use words like compel, right? Compel the customer to do such and such, right? Convince them. Like, you got to tell it what to do. Literally look at it as an assistant, right? That you got that. Right. She'll do exactly what you want it to do, right? You just got to give it
like
clear
a recipe,
instructions.
right?
Yes. Talk about it.
Just like a recipe. It's like the computer is your cook. And if you want the right outcome, you're going to have to tell them all the ingredients. If you say reply to this email as Tianna Mick, and I don't say I work at ABC Motors. I don't say I'm a car salesperson. I don't say that I want to persuade them to set an appointment with me. I don't tell them that I even want to set an appointment. The email will probably come back saying, "Hey, LA, thanks for reaching out. I'd love to talk more." Or, you know, obviously a little, you know, better than that. But along those lines, it's not going to have those, hey, here's our value package proposition on why you should shop at ABC Motors. Hey, here's my personalized video and here's the link to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the cool thing is, and I don't know, you could tell me if you've looked into this, because ChatGPT has plugins. Like on the desktop version, it's got plugins. So there's all types of things that, again, we're creating, we got a course, right, that's ready to come out. I'm telling you, it's about to be fire, right? But I'm just saying, y'all should play with some of this stuff first. That way you know what it is that you're working with. And that way when you buy the course, you're just like, okay, cool, I'm already up to snuff on the free stuff that I can do. Hey, let me now hone my skills. Let me like get even tighter with it. So it's little stuff, man. We try and give y'all a little bit on the Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast so y'all can get started, right? And it should definitely, what we're saying to you should absolutely increase your income, because this is not just an email thing. You can respond to text this way. You can create yourself, like we talked about social media posts. You can actually create, like when we talked about those handwritten letters and things like that, you could help it to give you the wording. And that way, all you got to do is write, almost like taking dictation. Remember we had to do that at school. Did y'all have to do that at school, take dictation? I don't know if y'all had to do that.
I don't think so.
It don't sound like, see, that's what I'm saying, right? I remember being in 3rd, 4th, 5th grade. The teacher would literally read something, and we had to write what she was reading, right? It's called taking dictation, right? Because anyway,
Oh no. Now we just press the little microphone icon on the bottom of our iPhone, and then it'll record what she says.
See what I'm saying? Anyway, that's a whole nother conversation. But yeah, all right. So let's, because we ain't gonna be here for long. I actually got to go do it. Teach a class all about co-signers and money down and getting trades and all kind of cool stuff like that. So if you have that question, you should probably be a part of the Dealer Synergy Academy, right? I don't even think it's that expensive, right? But you should be a part of that stuff because I do classes on these type of topics all the time. But before we go, T, what's something that we want to share with the folks that'll literally increase their income within the week of them hearing this podcast? What would you say?
I would say to use ChatGPT as your way of, like LA said, doing that grunt work. And if you're stuck with anything, whether that be like you said, LA, an idea on how to create something, just go to ChatGPT and they have the answers. Ask them, right? Say, hey, I want to start prospecting in my community. Give me 10 examples or ways that I can immediately start prospecting. That would literally give you immediate, like I said, 30 seconds, maybe less, results on exactly what you want to do. So if you're lost, kind of like how we're like, Google it, right? I think we said that last time. Google it. Just ChatGPT it. Because if you ChatGPT it, you're literally going to get immediate results that you want.
Man, I'm telling you, I really just don't think people are understanding the value of it, but you would if you played with it. So go download the app, go to OpenAI, go sign up, go get yourself an account, right? Get the free one. You know, dealers, if you're serious about it and you're really excited about it and you want to get an edge on the competition, right? Go get the paid version, right? Go get yourself some personality-driven stuff for all of your salespeople. Get yourself set up, right? And listen, if you are to do this, man, I'm telling you, there's no way that your income is not going to soar. So listen, I always say this: you are the average of the 5 people who you spend the most time with, and you've just been spending time with L.A. Williams, the one and only Miss Tianna, Mick Bradley. I like calling her that. It's fun, right? So
Mick,
it's your turn.
Now it's Mick Bradley Vega.
Right, Mick Bradley Vega. Right,
any of the listeners. I just recently got married in June. Thanks for everybody congratulating me. But now I'm Tianna Chanel Mick Bradley Vega. So let's see how many names I can keep going.
I know, right? We got to add some letters to it.
Let's add Louis Vuitton and Gucci to the end of those.
Love it. Y'all do the doggone thing, man. Go out there and be a millionaire car salesman. We'll talk to y'all later. Peace.
Bye, guys.
So there you have it, the Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast. This podcast comes to you every week from the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. If you have a question about the show or would like the chance to become a guest, feel free to contact us directly at 856-546-2440 or email us at millionairecarsalesman@gmail.com. This program is a presentation of Synergy Records, produced by Tianna Mick and L.A. Williams. Production and engineering by L.A. Williams. The Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast is hosted every week by L.A. Williams and the Millionaire Car Salesman himself, Sean V. Bradley. The Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast can be found everywhere, so please don't forget to review, subscribe to, and share the show. Thanks for listening to the Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast, and remember, where I'm from, money provides options. If you enjoyed this podcast, then make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and leave us a review. Let some other folks know about it. Oh, and don't forget to join the Millionaire Car Salesman group on Facebook. We'll see you there.